Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. The peaceful Hindu country of India decides to increase its, or at least it's been working to increase its defense spending. And obviously, India buys Russian military weapons, not the Western. So India could be a lost market for Rayatan and all these big how do you call them, American arms manufacturers, and they tried to break somehow into the Indian market, but India stands strong and doesn't give in. And what happens here? It's very interesting that this article, I have two articles coming from the same truth tellers, Reuters, and they talk about how much money India spent in the 5 years buying Russian weapons. But if you put it in the context with how much money and how many weapons worth of how many millions worth of weapons, of billions worth of weapons Ukraine was given by the Allies, that really dwarfs India's purchases. So let's see what's going on. We're going to start with this article first, coming from Reuters from today. Is today, right? Yeah, today, no, it is from yesterday, today, February 12th, 2023. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't change anything if it's from today or yesterday or 2 weeks ago. Russian arms supplies to India worth $13 billion in the past 5 years, news agency reports. He's like, Putin is looking at his hand like it's a, how do you call it, a cobra. Should I touch it? Oh my God, no, I don't want to. Let me think about it. Hey, here it is. You can trust me. And you can trust that guy. I tell you that. Russia supplied India with around $13 billion of arms in the past 5 years. That's not a big deal. It's what, $2 billion and a little bit a year. I mean, the United States provided in not even a year Ukraine with 30 billion or something. Altogether, I think goes to something like 100 or something with all the aid, other aid and aid. You know what aid is. Fight the Russians, put them in their knees, basically. And New Delhi has placed orders with Moscow for weapons and military equipment exceeding $10 billion, Russian state news agency reported late on Monday. That's $10 billion less for Lockheed Martin and Raytheon and American military industrial complex. India is the world's biggest buyer of Russian arms, accounting for around 20% of Moscow's current order book. And New Delhi has not explicitly condemned Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Well, all right. The Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi has called for dialogue and diplomacy to solve the conflict, now in its 12th month. Now, scores of Western sanctions imposed countries, 50? 40? I know it's Western, not even. Anyway, imposed sanctions on Russia, including on arms, in response to the invasion, which Moscow calls a special military operation. India, China, and some Southeast Asian countries have maintained their interest in buying Russian arms, according to Dmitry Shugayev, the head of the Russian Federal Service for Military Technical Cooperation, the agencies reported. Now, let me tell you this thing. When you read all the Western, maybe I should not say all, but I'm so irritated by this that I have to say all. Okay, I give up. Most of the media in the West, and definitely the media in Ukraine, talking about the Russian military, the weapons, they suck. All of them suck. But when they talk about HIMARS, or they talk about other ones, they're perfect, fantastic. None was destroyed by any Russians. The Russians did not destroy any HIMARS multiple launch rocket systems in Ukraine. Nothing, because they're not good enough. And HIMARS is invisible or something. This is according with the guys that I said all, okay? But the Russians said, no, we blew some. But why? Because of exactly this. Who's going to invest? Who's going to buy my equipment instead of buying your equipment? But with all this supply of weapons, remember, billions, tens of billions of dollars worth of weapons in Ukraine in a year. I think they got to the budget of Russia almost. That's how much a year. So with all this, Russia is still not losing. So that means the weapons the Russians are using must be good for something. Otherwise, they will take their swords or something, or knives or what? The whips? What are they going to use? So the fact that Russia, put it however you want, once against one, fights against not Ukraine, the whole thing behind over there, against all those guys alone. Oh, Iran. Yeah, okay, bye-bye. Anyway, alone against all those guys using their own weapons tells me that the weapons kind of work. What do you think? I mean, okay, let's go back to this little article here. So, annual arms exports were about $14 billion to $15 billion, and the order book has remained steadily at around 50 billion, Interfax reported. Asian customers are particularly interested in Russia's S-400 Triumph missile defense systems, short-range surface-to-air missile systems such as Osa, Pechora, or Strela, as well as Sukhoi 30 and MiG-29 warplanes, helicopters, and drones, Shugayev said. Well, whatever they said, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, Russia's TASS state news agency reported that Russia will present about 200 samples of weapons and military equipment at the 14th International Airspace Exhibition Aero India 2023, which opens in Mumbai in Bengaluru. Okay, now we have that one, and we have this article from Reuters. India aims to triple defense exports to 5 billion. Exports, not imports, exports. Defense exports. Sell fighter jets and choppers. So here we have this buying from these guys, and here is selling. Interesting. So now Bengaluru. Remember, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Monday set out ambitious to more than triple annual defense exports to $5 billion over the next 2 years as arms firms flocked to a major air show for a slice of nation's massive import budget. So they're fighting for who's going to sell weapons to India, the peaceful Buddhist Hindu. I'm just kidding. You have to defend yourself. So, if you want peace, arm yourself. The country is looking to sign defense deals worth 750 billion rupees. Oh, I thought it was dollars. I was like, what the is that? $9 billion at the biennial 5-day Aero India event. So it's every 2 years, every 5 day. Okay, it's 5 day, all this to make all these deals. And here we have India exports defense products to 75 countries. That's good. And they tell us a little bit whatever they get here. And I'm quoting, from just 0.2% share in the global arms exports, becoming a major exporter is a long haul. Well, you're going to compete with the Americans. Pressure to diversify. You know what it is? Yeah, they try to get from other little weasels. But like look here. Airbus, Boeing, Dassault Aviation, Lockheed Martin, Israel Aerospace Industry, Brahmos, Saab, Rolls-Royce, Larsen and Toubro, Hall and Bharat Electric. These guys are just coming over there to invest or make deals. Now, supposedly that Tata Group's Air India expected to announce a potential record deal to buy nearly 500 jets from Airbus and Boeing. This is commercial ones, all right, worth more than 100 billions at list price. But this is a commercial, not military in this case. So, arm yourself. You got the Russians as your partners, as you had the Soviets as your partners. Because if you remember that little interview between the fantastic foreign minister of India, Dr. Jay Shankar, and that weasel Austrian interviewer, I made a video that had a great success. I think it was something like, that's how an intellectual speaks with a weasel, Austrian interviewer. It was like, I don't know, almost 400,000 people. Good, very good. So anyway, views. So as Jai Shankar says over there, when this weasel, the Austrian guy, claims that, hey, you're buying from weapons from, and you're doing business with Russia, the bad dudes. And Jai Shankar said, yeah, okay, but where were you to give us when you were giving, the democracies were giving to Pakistan, which at that time was a military dictatorship. You were giving them weapons against us, democracy. Why? And then who gave us? The Soviets, the bad dudes. Then, so he said, well, why did you feel more close related to the military junta in Pakistan, the democratic countries, helping those against us? So I think that they never forgotten those guys doing that to them. So that's your answer, weasel, Austrian interviewer. I saw that guy interviewing Putin, and he was not an interviewer. He was just I don't know, just watch it if you want, and you're going to find out when this guy, the Austrian guy interviews Putin. I mean, you can ask tough questions, follow-up questions, pressuring questions, direct questions and so on. But it's a limit, it's a point where this turns into being rude, obnoxious, and just a bad dude. Anyway, I don't want to find the information, just want to aggravate and get something sensational. Anyway, he succeeded, I guess. So, thank you very much for being with me again today. They will continue buying from everyone, but I'm guessing if Russia gets a little bit upset, they will just buy from the Russians for the reasons that I already mentioned. And yes, that's a big advertising movement, and a lot of salesmen are around when you see for instance, Budanov, or you have other guys in Ikhnat, or you have Reznikov coming in front of the TV and cameras and talking this or writing, or hey, the Americans' weapons are the fantastic, the Russians are crap. Well, then how come you got in this situation for a year already, with all those countries helping you with all those things against the Russians with their rusty weapons? That means something is wrong. Oh, the Russians are disorganized, the Russians are deserting, the Russians are poorly trained, the Russians are poorly equipped, their weapons suck. But somehow you, with your training, you with all your military equipment, you with your help from the Western intelligence and all that, you're not winning. How come? And you have more people over there on the territory than the Russians. I guarantee you that one. I mean, those guys, Ukraine has a general mobilization. Russia did not. If Russia would have a general mobilization, we'd have 30 million at the border with whatever they are right now. So, spare me of BS. Or you can, but I will call it out. And you can call mine out, if I have any. Smell anything? Anyway, thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.